Hello and welcome to another special episode of Talking Loyal. And tonight we are joined by former professional footballer Aaron McLean. Welcome, Aaron. How are we?
Very well, thank you. How are you guys?
Yeah, all good, mate. All good. We've done a bit of research before, and that's why Tate's gone with Aaron. I don't know if it's Aaron or Aaron. So. Yeah.
Listen, it's only since I've come into the media world why people call me Aaron. I've been Aaron McLean for the last 20 years. So.
I was going to say you've spent your life in football. I can imagine. Obviously, very intelligent people, but yeah, when it comes to football, you're stuck with one name. That's just you're done. So.
Yeah, I'm good with any name. It's fine.
Nice.
Oh, perfect. How are you finding the off season, punditry wise? Have you got stuff to do? Or are you out on holidays? Have you just come back from holiday? Anything?
I've had a couple of holidays, stag do's in Ibiza, which
very nice.
Need recovery afterwards. And then I've been doing a little bit of the England under-21s for TalkSport. So
nice.
Still been keeping a little bit busy. But yeah, I'm itching for the season to start already.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is it different? Obviously, you've played a long career in the pre-season. Obviously, a very busy time when you're playing. But like now with the media and punditry, is it quieter? Are you even busier, or is it you got more time? What's it like?
It's different. It's still busy, and obviously there's so many games throughout the season now with all the cup competitions and the amount of league games. So it's still fairly busy during the season. And most games, I'm going to be travelling away to games. So there's a lot. I'd say there's probably more travelling than when I was playing.
Yeah.
But I also get to spend a lot more time at home. You know, during the days, I'm at home, even the days when I'm doing prep. So the day before a game, I'll normally spend at least 4 hours preparing for the next game, but I'm at home.
Yeah,
so
totally different.
Yeah. It's a good work and social life balance.
Yeah, nice.
Oh, perfect. With all our guests, we like to start off with a few quick fire questions, and tonight will be no different. So, Jack, you want to start us off with the first question?
Yep, first one, if you don't mind. Who did you support when you were growing up?
I was a Chelsea fan.
Chelsea.
Yeah.
A favourite player from Chelsea when you were growing up, or
Zola?
Yeah,
Franco Zola. Yeah. Before Zola came, it was John Spencer.
Right. A bit before my time, I think. But
yeah, I'm probably a little bit older than you guys. So, and do you know what? When people ask me that, and I say John Spencer, then they realise that I'm a proper Chelsea fan.
yeah.
Not many fans outside of Chelsea know who he is.
Yeah, not one of those 2005 Chelsea fans that we've got a few friends of.
There's plenty of them, don't worry.
You scored plenty of goals, but did you have a favourite pair of football boots to wear?
Well, I was with Nike through my whole career, so there was I'd say there was probably two pairs that I really loved. There was one pair that I actually made when I was at Grays. Actually, I say they're probably my favourite ones. They were like kind of a pearly white and baby blue colour that I've made on Nike ID. Total 90s they were.
You got to be a good player to wear them as well.
Well, this was when I was doing well. If I'd got it, I could only wear them when I'm scoring goals, that's for sure.
Yeah,
they were my favourite pair. I wish I could get them back now.
Yeah. Well, maybe a bit personal, but we see your brother is a sort of rapper, R&B, and also your uncle is a singer or was a singer. What was your go-to karaoke? I've seen you do some road bits at weddings and stuff. So.
Yeah, I'm not really singing. I didn't get that gene for sure. That gene definitely skipped me. I prefer to just do a little bit of rapping. You know, when we was younger, we used to go to like house parties, and my brother was an MC at first. So we used to like go and do MC, you know, MC over garage, and the two of us would do a little bit. So singing, if I had to sing a song, it would probably be like a Boys to Men song, like End of the Road or something like that.
Did you have to do any initiations when you played? Like, did you sing or do a bit of MCing? Or
I always MC'd. Yeah. Whenever I had to do an initiation, it was always MCing. And funny enough, I got the majority of the way through my career without having to do one.
Yeah.
And then when I signed for Birmingham, they forced me to do it. So yeah, I just did a bit of rapping.
Nice.
Who was the toughest defender you came up against, one on one or just in the team, or how? Who'd you say that
I
was?
think Rio Ferdinand was the best player, best defender I ever played against. He literally, he was just so intelligent that he read the game so well. And my game was all about movement and running in behind. But when you go to make a run, he's already dropped off 3-4 yards, so he's in the right position. And the odd occasion when he did get into a race with you, he was quick as well. So yeah, he was, for me, by far the best defender that I ever came up against. And at the time I was at Peterborough as well. So he kind of showed me the level that you need to be at to compete at that level.
Yeah, that's fair enough. And on your goals, what was your favourite goal off the top of your head, if you can think that you scored?
My favourite goal was I scored a goal against Stockport for Peterborough in our League 2 promotion season. And it was from about, I'd say 30 yards. It was probably 25, but
Tell your mates, yeah.
we had a throw in from the left-hand side, and I just let it run across my body, and I just volleyed it, and it just flew in the far top corner.
Yeah.
And I never scored many goals from outside the box, so for me to hit that one was, that was the pick of the bunch for me.
Nice, very nice.
Was it a winning goal or anything like that, or what was it? Did you win the game?
Yeah, we won the game. I think we won the game about 3-1. But like I say, for me to score outside of the box was one thing, but to score what I'd say was a worldie. You know, I didn't score many worldies. I was very much a box player and just hit the ball into corners. So for me to score a screamer like that, I was very happy.
Nice.
Perfect. And the final quickfire question, you answer at the end of the show. Have a little think. But you scored 5 goals against 4 separate teams. Can you name them? Have a little think about it, and we'll answer it at the end of the podcast.
We'll come back to it, but there's
that's
a few
good
teams.
Question.
5 goals against 4 separate teams.
Okay, I reckon I can name a couple of them already.
Have a little think, and then at the end of the show, we'll come back to it.
Cool.
Yeah. But we'll sort of move on to the main part and obviously talk about your career. But like you mentioned, you were at Chelsea briefly, weren't you, not briefly, 6 years throughout your youth, and then you moved on and made your sort of start in non-league and through Leyton Orient. But just a little bit about how it started with Chelsea and then how it progressed, really.
Well, I was at Chelsea from 10 to 16. Amazing time, amazing education into football. And I think they really taught me the real basics. But from a young age, and I say this to everyone, I was never the best player in my team. You know, if anything, I was very much middle of the road. And I'd say that was probably in every team I played in. I was very much middle of the road, but because I had such good players around me, I knew that I just had to work hard. And that was my real start point at Chelsea. But at 16, when it came to giving YTS, you know, I wasn't given a YTS and was released from Chelsea. Now, one of my close friends and someone who I went to school with as well, he was at Leyton Orient at the time. He was a year above me. And he said, look, Leyton Orient would love you to come down and have a look at you. So, you know, at this time, I had nothing else. You know, I didn't even know any other clubs really outside of Premier League football. So
that's what I was saying. Sorry, when Chelsea happened and you were released at 16, did you, like you sort of mentioned, but did you think, oh, that's it now, I'm finished? Like, oh, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, because it happens all the time, doesn't it? The lads, it's very difficult. But...
Yeah, it was difficult because you know, I literally got a phone call from Chelsea to say that you wouldn't be getting a YTS, and I kind of knew anyway. But obviously, once you get that phone call, everything you really realise that, right, that's it. I'm no longer a Chelsea player, and you have there's a period of embarrassment to a degree because all through school everyone's known me as Aaron McLean, plays for Chelsea, blah blah blah. So there's the embarrassment, there's the disappointment. I had no idea what I was going to do next. So that was a really, really difficult period. And I'd say I was really low for about a week or so before I started to kind of, really, I'd say it was a huge part to my friend. You know, he kind of said, look, don't worry about it. Leighton Orient are interested. So then I had to kind of do a little bit of research into, right, who are Leighton Orient? They were in the 3rd division at the time, which from the Premier League to, you know, don't get me wrong, I'm at a Premier League club, but I'm not anywhere near the first team or anything like that. So I went down to Leighton Orient and straight away there was a real good feeling about the place. You know, good people. They really paid an interest in me and offered me a YTS contract. So, you know, that low point that I'd had, that disappeared fairly quickly in the grand scheme of things, because I was then given a YTS scholarship. And yeah, that's when my football career, I'd say that's when it really started, you know, because I think up until then it's kids football, to be honest.
Yeah. That's what you obviously, when you went to Orient, and like you said, you're still a young man at that time, but you were slowly stepping into that men's game. And then I think it was like you spent about 4 years at Orient, but obviously you had a couple of loan spells, like dipping into non-league, still obviously a high level. But do you think that really helped you when you're a young man, 18, 19, and playing men's football essentially?
Yeah, I think my time at Leighton Orient was brilliant. And like I said, I spent 4 years at Leighton Orient, 2 years YTS, 2 years professional. But I was never looked at as a starter for Leighton Orient. You know, I'd say I probably played about 50, 60 games. But I was always, because of how I played, and I was so energetic and probably busy was what everyone used to call it back then. I was always looked at as, if they're winning, they chuck me on to just cause havoc and try and make sure that I can run the clock down. If we're losing, they throw me on to try and wear their defence down and hopefully cause enough mayhem for someone to score a goal. You know, I was never looked at as, right, Aaron McLean is going to start the game. So, you know, I had 2 really bad injuries when I was there. I had a Lisfranc fracture, which is like a broken foot, and all my toes dislocated. And then probably about 12 months later, I then broke my ankle, and then I had to have a metal plate put in my ankle. So in that 4 years, there was 2 major disruptions which kept me out for long periods. But when it came time, you know, to get another contract, there was already 3 senior strikers, and there was Jabo Ibire, who's was the same year as me, and he was playing in the first team. So they were like, look, we could only keep, you know, we're only going to have 4 strikers. We've got 3 senior strikers who are still contracted, and we've got Jabo, who's the same age as you and is playing. So I was released, and I dropped down into non-league with Aldershot, initially on loan. And then I'd signed, you know, I went on loan, but I'd already signed a 2-year contract with Aldershot. And I must say it was the best thing that could have happened to me, because then I went into men's football.
And playing as well.
Playing week in, week out. And I understood what it means. I understood why these players work so hard during the week, what a Saturday game means, you know, a win bonus to these players, to, you know, going out and playing in front of fans and actually being one of the main players. You know, everything just all of a sudden really started to make sense. But even at that point, I was thinking, I don't know if I'm ever going to get back to being...
That's what I was going to ask again. But yeah, like when you're in that period and Aldershot, and obviously you moved on to Grays as well, was you always thinking higher, or was you just happy? You're doing really well, but you were just happy with that?
No, I always wanted to get back in the league. That was always my sole focus, was I want to get back in the league. You know, I'd been in the league. I'd spent, you know, 2 years as a professional, and I was desperate to get back there, but it seemed so far away. It seemed like such a long way away. And I joined Aldershot when they was only just getting promoted into the conference. spent 2 years there. We got to a playoff final and we lost on penalties. And then when I moved on from Aldershot, again, I joined Grays when they were just getting promoted into the conference. So I was never the top team in the conference, you know, that was going to go on and get promoted the next season. Funny enough, Aldershot almost got there through the playoffs. At Grays, we should have got there. You know, we somehow had the best team in the division and ended up again losing in the playoffs. But I was around very good players and really good managers, especially Mark Stimson at Grays was huge for me. You know, in terms of my development, he was one of the most important people in my career.
Well, you mentioned there you played with some really good players down in non-league. Did any of them players get snapped up and go up to the higher level? And were you thinking, is this going to be my chance next? Of any of them players played freshly?
Yeah, well, at Aldershot, Adam Miller, who I was close with, we travelled in together. And Adam Miller went on to play for QPR. And when he went, I was over the moon for him because he's a brilliant guy, brilliant player, and deserved his opportunity. But at the same time, I'm looking and thinking, well, he's gone and I'm still here. So, you know, am I going to get this opportunity? And there was periods where there was talk about, you know, Reading are interested in you, QPR are interested in you, but nothing really materialised from, you know, and I suppose that was the first time when I realised that paper talk doesn't mean anything until you sign a contract. It doesn't mean anything. And after all that,
that similar question, but when and how those teams started popping up, was it in the season? Was it end of the season? Was it phone calls or emails or whatever? What was happening?
No, it was during the season. So I'd gone and played for England C whilst I was at Aldershot. And once I got into that England team and was playing well for my club, then it started popping up in papers that, you know, Reading are interested and QPR are interested and a few other clubs. And at the time you're thinking, right, well, I'm going to be going soon, you know, and I think at the time the manager didn't like it. And we had myself and the manager had a couple of run-ins. And then I found myself out of the team and, you know, it was a really, really strange period. And at the end of it, I ended up, you know, the manager ended up saying, look, I think it's probably best you go. Grays are interested in you. It's back closer to home. And it came as a surprise to me, but I was like, okay, cool. Well, I didn't want to leave, but if the manager doesn't want you, then you have to move on. But
definitely.
Again, I look back and I say, if that didn't happen, would everything else that played out, would it have played out the way it did? Probably not.
Yeah, so it was at Grays you found your move to Peterborough, wasn't it? Did they scout you, obviously, I assume, or you'd like to tell us how that came about?
Yeah, so I was doing really well at Grays. You know, I think the season we just missed out on the playoffs. We lost a lot of players. We lost the likes of Gary Hooper and some really influential players. But myself and Michael Kitely were still there. Now, at the end of the season, I think Chester had come in for Kites and Accrington had come in for me. And Stimo was very much like, look, you're not going to those clubs. At the time, they were both right near the bottom of League Two. And they were like, just wait, start the next season and you'll get your moves. You'll get your moves to clubs that you can go on and progress in. So myself and Kites ended up staying. We started the season and I think I had like 13 goals in 17 games. And then Peterborough came in and they bid 150 grand. Now, I think Grays had paid 5 grand for me from Aldershot. And 150 grand at the time was a club record for Peterborough. So when they put that bid in, you know, I was on my way. The chairman
was that an easy decision for yourself, or was it just like you said, chairman? Yeah, see you later, mate. Cheers.
To a degree, it was easy in terms of, oh, listen, I wanted to get back in the league. Peterborough were a club that had just been taken over. Darren McCanty had just taken over the club, and I was going to be his first signing. So I'd gone up, I'd met with Darren and Barry Fry, and they sold the club to me. You know, they said that they've got aspirations of getting promoted through the leagues, getting to the championship within 5 years. And they all sounded great, but it was so unrealistic that I was a little bit like, well, I really enjoy it at Grays. I'm scoring goals and doing well. I'm going to be leaving my mates. But, you know, it was the right thing to do. And yeah, you know, I'd gone home, spoke to my family about it. And then I think the next day I was packed and ready to head up to Peterborough.
Yeah, nice.
Did you have the belief that you'd go in straight as a first team starting, or were you under the impression that you'd be on the bench and you'd have to wait to get your chance?
No, well, they'd made it clear that they were bringing me in and they were paying all that money for me to come in straight away. You know, and I'd been playing all season for Gray, so I was fit and I was desperate to get started. And you know, I think I made my debut. I must have signed on, I don't know, maybe the weekend. And then I made my debut midweek in a cup game against Swansea, scored. And then, yeah, I was playing. And I played 20 games. I scored 10 goals in 20 games. And then I got injured and I tore my medial and cartilage. So I ended up spending the remainder of the season out injured. You know, I'd only played the 4 months from, I think it was November I signed. And then I got injured February. And funny enough, I got injured literally the game when Mikael Smith had joined.
I was going to say, yeah. A lot of people watching and listening probably recognise yourself. And then, I mean, me personally, I always remember you and Mikael Smith. I'm sure we'll elaborate. But yeah, that first full season, you played 45 games and 29 goals. So pretty good.
Came back for your injury strong then.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you know what? It was funny because I got injured. Craig came in. Craig did really well. And then Darren Ferguson then came in. Keith Alexander got the sack and Darren Ferguson came in. And I think in that off season, Darren Ferguson had said that he doesn't think myself and Craig can play together. And we really latched onto that, you know, between us, because me and Craig were really good friends from the start. And we played for England together and we'd kind of made the same kind of journey. So we really latched onto that. And once we started playing together, it was, you know, it was incredible. Yeah, just everything just worked. Our games, we were both quite small for, you know, in comparison to most defenders, but we both had a sickening work ethic. You know, we would run teams into the ground. And because of that, it created opportunities. And even though we were both, you know, small, quick, hard-working players, our games complemented each other. You know, I was a more technical one, and he'd chase a paper bag in the wind. So, you know, we were both very, very similar in some ways, but totally different in others.
Yeah, you were top scorer that season for League Two, and you got into team year, and obviously you got promotion. So to go from, well, even from 2007 to later on after that season, you get to the Championship, from non-league to that's a very, very quick rise, but it must have been incredible.
Yeah, it was, you know, that was for me the best period in my career. You know, we built a team of just young, hungry players. A lot of us had come from non-league. Others had been at, you know, the likes of Charlie Lee, who had been at Tottenham but hadn't got a chance. He was desperate to kind of prove a point. And then we brought in some experience. We brought in Michael Hyde, who'd been there, done that, played in the Premier League. All that experience. We brought in Dean Keats and Chris Westwood. Again, two players who had promotions already from the division that we was in, and came in and brought that, you know, just the leadership skills that they brought. And they kind of kept us all in check, because we were all young, just excitable young professionals who would every now and again go a little bit off the rails. But they just kind of reined us in, and just they taught us the importance of making sure that, as well as enjoying ourselves and enjoying the status of being footballers, we make sure that we do our work on the pitch and on the training pitch. And it worked.
Did George Boyd play in that team as well? Did he come later on?
No, Boydie joined similar time to me and Craig. Now, I'd say George was the glue to everything that we did well. George was the standout player. He was incredible. He had no pace, but would glide past people like they wasn't there. Technically brilliant, vision, awareness, incredible. And they called us the Holy Trinity, myself, Craig, and George.
I was going to say, literally, those three names, Peterborough, that is, for me anyway, obviously I'm a bit younger, but that is why Peterborough are there. that little trio and Ferguson and all sorts.
And I think so. A couple of months ago, we got inducted into the Hall of Fame, and we had to wait until all three of us had retired because they wanted to do the three of us together, which again was a huge, huge honor. But yeah, I think us three together was the best group that I'd ever played in. We just had a real there was almost a telepathic understanding between the three of us, and we'd go out, and every game we'd go out, we'd just feel like it didn't matter who we was playing against, because of how well our understanding, how good our understanding is. We're gonna create chances and score goals, and for those 4 years it turned out that way.
I mean, after that promotion in League Two and obviously getting 29 goals in that season, you must have gone into the next season full of confidence. What was the aim? Was the aim to get promoted again, or was the aim to stay in the league and see what you can do? Or did you have so much confidence in that squad? Like you said, it was just a great team morale there. Was it, let's go again? We can go back to back.
Yeah, absolutely. That was exactly how we approached it. We said, right, we've just got promoted. We should have won the league. Now let's go and get promoted again. And listen, again, we was probably just shooting for the moon, but we had a real belief in our own ability that we can compete. We played some cup games in that League Two season. We beat Colchester. We well beat Colchester in the FA Cup, and that's when they had Teddy Sheringham and Kevin Lisby. They were star-studded, and we absolutely battered them. So again, those games gave us confidence that if we step up a level and we perform the way that we can go and beat anyone. And going into that season, I don't think we started the season great, but we were playing well. And at Peterborough, it's a very, very offensive way of playing, which suited us down to the ground, because we knew that as long as we're getting opportunities, we'll probably go out and outscore teams.
I think that season in League One, I think Mikhail Smith might have pipped you a few goals that year, but was it always a little friendly competition between you both, or?
Yeah, it was. We always had a real friendly rivalry. But the thing is, as much as, I wanted to obviously be top goal scorer, Craig wanted to be top goal scorer, but it never stopped us from creating opportunities for each other. And, during those seasons, I think in the first season, Craig had injuries. In the second season, I had injuries. So there was periods where we weren't playing, as to why the other one ended up, with so many more goals. But at no point was I never looked and thought, right, Craig's 5 goals ahead of me, I'm not going to pass him the ball. No, it was the exact opposite. It was like, right, do you know what? If Craig can go on and win the Golden Boot, I'm going to feed him as much as I can. And I think that, again, stood us in good stead, because ultimately the end goal was getting promoted. It didn't matter who scored the goals, even though we all wanted to score the goals. as long as we win the games and we're on the team bus celebrating afterwards, that was the main thing.
I bet you had some good celebrations with if you had Barry Fry and even Ferguson in charge. I bet there was a few nights out.
Yeah, the celebrations both years were incredible. They were definitely memorable. Well, what I can remember of them anyway.
Did they ever treat you a little holiday, or if you got
was it like a
little
little like a Wrexham trip? Was it?
We never had a Wrexham trip. We did have we had a couple of trips to Vegas, but they were stag do's. But they just happened to be at the end of the season when we'd been promoted. So we had a few trips to Vegas. I think we actually had one to Magaluf when we got promoted, which Magaluf and Vegas are a little bit different. But yeah, we had some great times, and the manager, he'd always throw a party afterwards. So there was one year he threw a party at his house, which was incredible. The following year, I think pre-season, we flew out to pre-season early, and the chairman threw a party with all of his staff that was working for his property company, all of the players. It was like insane party. So yeah, they looked after us with the celebrations.
Good.
You mentioned Darren Ferguson there, and his winning mentality and that. Do you think, did his dad ever get involved or ever come down to training or meet you guys or can give you congratulations on your promotions or things like that?
Now and again, whenever we'd play up north, we'd go and train at Carrington. So we'd be there training. I remember the first time we ever went down to United's training ground, and Sir Alex came over and was watching, and everyone got starstruck.
Really?
Everyone. It was literally a case of, oh my God, like Alex Ferguson's watching. I think that was probably the worst training session I ever had.
Oh, really? I was going to say, did the levels not go up? Obviously not. I was too worried.
But he was brilliant. He never really got involved too much. He'd come down to games and, and we'd hear, oh yeah, like Alex Ferguson's watching us today and stuff. But he never got involved. He never came and spoke to the lads. He let Darren do his thing. And I think Darren was very much, he wanted to do everything himself as well. He didn't want people saying, yeah, my dad's helped me and this and that. He's very much his own man. And yeah, I respect him a lot for that, because it would have been easy for him to constantly lean on his father. Because so yeah.
Did you ever get your players on loan from United? I remember a story once Preston did, and then I think he got sacked once, and he took them all back.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the Preston one. From United, not really. I can't really think. I think Ben Amos maybe, but not really. We never really got many players from United, not down at Peterborough. Which again, I think that was all part of I don't want to be looked at as, he's doing well because his dad's giving him all United players.
Favor, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so he very much wanted to stand on his own 2 feet, and
like I mentioned earlier, obviously the rise. You basically 2007 you were Grays non-league, and then 2009 you're, like we said, you're having a championship season. What was that like? Was you just living in the moment and next game, or did you stop and think, bloody hell, like what's going on here?
It was amazing. We had a baptism of fire, because our first game was away to Derby, full house, and I think we lost the game maybe 2-0, and it was like, wow, okay, this is, if every game's going to be like this, then we need to improve. We didn't play badly, but they just outclassed us. The opportunities that they had, they put them away. And yeah, it was a real wake-up call. But as the season progressed, I think we showed, with even games that we didn't win, our performances were good. Our performances were good, and we were playing good football. And
Yeah,
people,
that's what
you always when you obviously you got promoted, you're saying you're Peterborough are known for playing that style. When you got to the Championship, was it the same sort of mentality? You weren't fussed?
Yeah, it
You
was
just
the
go out and
same.
play? Yeah.
It was the same. We went out and we didn't fear anyone, and we'd just go and play our game. And, sometimes we'd get outclassed, sometimes we'd be unlucky. We wouldn't be clinical enough. But we just went out and played the same way. And listen, sometimes maybe we should have tweaked things. Maybe we needed a bit of help. I think that a lot of those players had gone from playing non-league football, and within a couple of years were playing in the Championship and weren't ready. That was a bridge too far, because that standard there's a huge gap between playing League Two and playing Championship football. So for so many to do it at the same time was probably too many, but it was a great learning curve for a lot of us, and for the ones that probably was ready to step up. I think that kind of gave us a good base to start.
Yeah. On that promotion to the Championship, although that summer, did you have any players that got pinched from other clubs, or was it still, like you said, pretty much the same nucleus? Was there a player missing that you felt we could really done with him that season?
I don't think we actually lost anyone. That season, I thought I was going to go. I thought I was going to go the year before. Wolves had come in, and I think Wolves tabled a £2 million bid the season before, and I wanted to go. I'd put a transfer request in. I said I wanted to go to Wolves, and Wolves are in the Championship, fighting to get into the Premier League at the time. So I was desperate to go. But Peterborough were adamant that, listen, the reason we've bought you players is to go and get us back-to-back promotions, and you're not going. And it was very similar at the end of the following season. Clubs were showing an interest, but the chairman was adamant that, no, we're keeping everyone together. The manager wants to keep everyone. So, yeah, we're going to go for it again. What we needed to do was bring in some more Championship experience. And I think that's probably where we just fell short. On
that transfer request, I've always wondered, how does that work? Is it an email? Do you ring up, or do you get your agent to do it? Or
well,
how do you submit a transfer request?
So the way the situation played out was Wolves had come in, and it was made known to my agent that Wolves had come in. And they tabled a bid. I think the first bid was like £1 million. And I made it clear to my agent, look, I want to go, And I'd had conversations with the manager, I'd had conversations with Barry and the chairman. And Barry said to me, look, if you want to go, you'll have to put in a transfer request. So I was like, fine, okay. So I met my agent, we typed up a transfer request, and I handed it in the next day. And then the transfer request got they didn't accept it.
Oh, really?
Which didn't go down too well, as you can imagine, with the fans. Yeah. So the first pre-season game, once it was made clear I'm not going, first pre-season game, we played against Liverpool, and I got booed because I wanted to leave. And then I scored, and then from that moment onwards, it was almost like it didn't happen, and we went on and got promoted, and I scored a load of goals. So everyone was
forgotten about.
Yeah, it was all forgotten. It rarely gets mentioned now. So
so yeah, obviously that Peterborough time was a brilliant time for you on the up, and then you got your move to Hull in 2011. Were they Championship at the time, or were they Prem?
Yeah, Hull were in the Championship.
Yeah.
Yeah,
go on.
Because at Peterborough, obviously we'd got relegated from we'd got relegated from the Championship back into League One, and then I started League One season on fire. So I knew that clubs were interested in me anyway, but I was still at Peterborough. So that first half of the season was just really about, for the team, we was trying to get promoted again back into the Championship. And again, for myself, it was make sure that you fire the goals to get yourself back there. And then Hull came in. I think Hull paid initially 1.6 million, rising to about just under 2 million, I think. And yeah, as soon as Hull came in, I think the club were ready to let me go. And I was ready to go back and go to Hull and try and fight for a place at a big club. So yeah, that was pretty I'd say a smooth transition.
Was that Nigel Pearson, the manager, then, who brought you in at Hull?
Yeah. Nigel Pearson was the manager when I first came in, and he signed myself and Matty Fryer together from Leicester. And then obviously whilst I was there, Nigel Pearson got the sack. Nicky Barmby was a player, then became manager. At the end of the season, we didn't finish this. We should have got in the playoffs. We just missed out on the playoffs. So then Nicky Barmby wasn't kept on, and then Steve Bruce came in. And I think everyone when Steve Bruce came in, you almost felt like, okay, right, we could be pushing it, because we brought in a big name manager, someone who's already been there, done it. And for a lot of us, it was he going to keep us? Was he not? You know.
Yeah.
He's got a reputation.
Because when you obviously signed, you had Nigel Pearson, then Barmby, then Steve Bruce comes in. Did that affect you personally? Do you think like all the chopping and changing, or was you focused on what was going on?
Yes and no. Under Nigel Pearson, I played as a striker. And same with Barmby. When Steve Bruce came in, I played a lot wider. I played more, if we played a front three, I played left of the three, which a position I really enjoyed playing. But in terms of like my goal return's never going to be what a number 9's going to be. So I kind of had to sacrifice the way that I played a bit to make sure that I'm in the team and playing. But I enjoyed it. I did think whether or not I was going to stay at the club, because Steve Bruce was kind of known for, if you give him money, he's gonna spend it, and he's gonna, like most teams, when managers want to make a change, normally they make a change and they go and bring in strikers, strikers that have been there, done it, proven track records. So this was no different, but I must say it was brilliant. He brought in a brilliant coaching staff. Aggers was a great coach, and I learned so much in that period. But I just knew when he came, I just had a feeling that we were going to get promoted. I just felt like we brought in that manager to go in and get promoted, and that's kind of how it played out.
Touching on a point you made at the beginning of that, where you said you were playing a lot on the wing. How did you feel as a professional footballer? And you were always a striker, you were saying, when you were growing up, and you had the great partnership with Macau Smith, 4-4-2. I think it was around 2010-11 where teams started playing more 4-3-3, the extra man midfield. Did you find it harder as a number 9 with on your own with two wingers, or did you prefer it with a strike partner?
I preferred playing with a strike partner, but at the time, it didn't really bother me. I just loved playing. I just wanted to play. So I was happy to just play in whatever position the manager wanted me to play. At no point would I go in and be like, look, Gaffer, I don't want to play in this position, or I don't want to play there. Like, play me anyway. Play me left back if you want me to. As long as I'm out there and I'm playing and doing what I love doing, I was happy to play in any position. And I felt that, because the way I played, and I was a hard working player, and I'd run for 90 minutes. So I feel like that he obviously looked at that and thought, right, do you know what? I want someone who's probably more prolific in that attacking position, but I know that he's going to do the work. I know he's going to track back. I know he's going to get forward. So, I played left or right of a three, and I was happy with that. I think it's more when I look back now and I think I probably sacrificed being in goal scoring positions to play more for the team. But as you know, when I was out there, you know, that was never in my mind. You know, in my mind it was just play well and try and win for the team.
When you were at Hull, when you said when Steve Bruce come in, that must have been a real incentive to think, finally I can push for the Premier League. That's like I don't know what the saying is, the oracle of football, isn't it? In this country as well, just to play in that Premier League. Was that the whole team and squad's mindset? Let's get together. We've got an experienced manager who's done this before. Can we do it?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what everyone wanted was to get promotion. However we did it, it was the focus was get promoted. And we had a team good enough to do it. We had a squad good enough to do it. It was just a case of, can we be consistent enough in what we're doing? And for long periods of the season, we was. And then we hit a bit of a rough patch. And all of a sudden it just looked like, oh my gosh, is it going to happen again? Because it happened to us the season before and we just fell away at the end. So we managed to come through that. You know, we had a few big wins, and one that stands out, we played Sheffield Wednesday away, and we've been on a run of not winning, you know, drawing a lot of games, and other teams were winning around us. And then we beat Sheffield Wednesday 1-0 away, and I'd come on sub, scored a goal. And that, from, you know, on a personal note, was a huge moment for me, because I'd found myself out of the team, was only coming on, you know, was coming on as a sub. So to come on, score the winning goal and kind of get us back, get the momentum going again, you know, was huge on a personal note. And the team continued to grow, you know, and in the end, you know, we had enough to be able to get over the line and get automatic promotion, and didn't have to do it through the playoffs.
It's probably a good thing, yeah. The playoffs they're gonna be heartbreak, can't they?
Yeah, not wrong.
Yeah.
Did you,
like
talking
you said,
of,
go on, Tate.
sorry, just to jump in there quickly, playoff heartbreak, moving back to Peterborough quickly. Were you at the ground for either of them games? The Peterborough versus Sheffield Wednesday?
Yeah, well, I was at the game. I was at the first game as a supporter. You know, the owners had asked me to come down, and myself, Mikel Smith and Gabby Zakawani, we were presented on the pitch before the game and done a lap of honour. And I think it was to get the crowd going and make it a real, because Peterborough, when at London Road, if that crowd gets going, it's a tough place for an away team to go. And they were brilliant, absolutely outstanding on the day. Probably should have won by more than 4. And I covered the second leg for Sky. So it was myself.
That game, wasn't it? That game.
It was myself, Clinton Morrison, and David Prutton. Now, they're both ex-Sheffield Wednesday players, and obviously me from Peterborough. So you can imagine how heartbreaking that was.
Mental.
Yeah, it was tough. It was tough. But you know what? I was over the moon for Darren Moore, because I know Darren Moore really well. He's been someone who I can call up and ask anything. You know, he's always been there as a mentor. So I was over the moon for Morrow. I was over the moon for Baz, for Barry Bannon and a few of the other lads. But I was gutted for the Peterborough lads, because they'd done the work. You know, first game, they'd done all the work. But playing at Hillsborough in that environment was so hostile, and it was almost like a cauldron kind of feel. You could feel it in the air. And I said I was nervous traveling up. When I spoke to the producer on the way up to the game, I was like, I've got a bad feeling about today. And he's like, you're 4-0 up. Like, and I said, I don't know what it is, but I've got a bad feeling. And then straight away, Clinton said, if they're 2-0 at half time, then they're going to win. And
it was.
That's, yeah, he was all right for once.
Well, moving on to, might as well jump to the punch if you don't mind. But so at the end of your career, you obviously dropped back to non-league where it all began. Was that you obviously went into the coaching side of things. Was that something you planned, or you were thinking, right, once I finish my career, I'm gonna move into the coaching side?
Yeah, coaching was the natural progression for me. You know, as a player, I was very vocal, and as I was coming to the end of my career, I was always one to try and help the younger ones, you know, and do extra sessions with younger players and be kind of a mentor. So the natural progression for me was to go into coaching. And Aaron McLean, who was my manager at Ebbsfleet when I retired, he was brilliant with me. He said, look, I want you to come in and be first team coach down here at Ebbsfleet. And yeah, really helped me kind of understand what coaching was all about. He's an incredible manager, you know, someone who I think is more suited to a higher level, you know, because of when I look at the managers that I've played under, and I've played under a lot of managers, and he's one of the best. He's one of the best in his approach, in his detail, in the way he coaches. I think that he's someone that it was good to learn from him. And him and Darren Ferguson are very similar in a lot of ways to how their style of play and the way that they coach, the amount of detail that they give you. They're very similar. So it was brilliant to, first of all, having worked under Darren Ferguson, and then to be playing under Darren McMahon and then coaching under him, because we have a similar philosophy of football and a similar idea of how the game should be played.
And when you moved on to Peterborough to help with Darren Ferguson, was that a no-brainer? Obviously, you'd played under him. It was a good experience. You just thought, right, that's going to be perfect.
Yeah, it was. You know, initially I'd gone down. Darren had just come back to the club, and I literally he said, look, come down, we'll have a coffee, come and have a look at the lads. And I wasn't going down there to go and do anything. It was just literally to go and see Darren. And then we sat down, we had a talk, and he was like, you know, what are you doing now? I was doing my badges at the time, and he said, look, why don't you come down and do a couple of days, you know, just do a couple of days coaching with us. He was down there with Gavin Strachan, who again was one of my teammates at Peterborough. So the three of us would do the sessions, and then it just progressed. You know, they offered me a full-time position as first team coach and manager of the under-23s as well. So, you know, it was perfect for me. You know, I was back home, so to speak, with people that I knew and respected. And yeah, it was the ideal scenario for me to take that job and see where I go with it.
Nice.
How does Aaron McLean, the manager, coach, compared to the striker? Is there can you sense similarities in there, or are you more calm as a coach?
I'm a lot calmer. I'm a lot calmer as a coach, but because of the way that I played, because of the journey that I had as a player, you know, coming from non-league to get to the Premier League, I know how hard I had to work to get there. So as a coach, I'm demanding. I demand that whatever you do it to your absolute maximum ability. You know, I knew that every single day in training, I had to work hard. I had to give everything in training, because technically I always say that I managed to have a 20-year career because I continuously bought myself time to improve. And the more becoming a professional footballer isn't the hardest thing. Staying a professional footballer is the hardest part. And I continuously bought myself time through the years to be able to progress and improve. And that's all I demand from the players, because at a young age, you don't really understand that. You don't understand that if you don't give everything now, someone else is giving everything. And you can't see them, but they're at their clubs giving everything. And once they come in, they'll take your position. And then you can't all of a sudden just pick up and then say, all right, yeah, all of a sudden I'll give everything now. It might be too late by then. So I understood that from a young age. And I demand that any players that work with me in a coaching aspect, if you're going to work with me, that's what I expect you to do. So they probably get the short end of the stick to a degree, because that's what I had to do. And I probably didn't have half the technical ability that a lot of these young lads have got now. But it will stand them in good stead if they hope to get to the highest level that they can.
Yeah. And
you're
you're
100%.
Yeah, go on, Tate.
I was going to say 100%, because you can see players that have obviously the talent but haven't got the attitude or hard work ethic, the work ethic to go with it, and that must be, as a coach and even as a teammate, a really frustrating thing.
Well, it's the worst thing. It's the worst thing. And listen, I constantly meet people who say, yeah, I could have done this, I could have done that. Yeah, I could have been a professional. Oh, yeah, I know so-and-so, he had all this ability. Listen, we all know a million people who have ability. But especially as a coach now, I can see that coaches don't just look for ability. Coaches look for the way you apply. How do you carry yourself away from football? How do you carry yourself around the ground? What's your punctuality like? What's your attitude like to training? When there's something that you don't want to do you still do it and do it to the best of your ability? Like, it's all the little details that when it comes to someone offering you a contract or not offering you a contract, it's a collection of all those things. It's not just, well, he's a good player, because there's loads of good players. Loads of people can play the game, but not everyone has the right attitude towards all the other aspects surrounding it. And it's all about characters now. People want good characters within their dressing room. They don't want to have to carry anyone. And especially with the amount of money that they're paying people now.
Yeah. Well, 100%. I'm a diehard Arsenal fan, and I've seen that over the years since, like, for example, when Arteta's come in. You've seen it on the Amazon documentary. Doesn't matter who you are, and like you said, the two biggest players who got the two biggest wages are the ones that have been kicked out the door for things like for turning up late, not having the right attitude, not wanting to be a team player. And like you said, I think now, in all days and age, the best players do that, and the best managers will demand that. And if you're not doing that, then you won't get picked. Someone else will play.
Absolutely. And I think when you look now and you look at the best players, like if you look at the Premier League and you look at the best players, you look at your Kevin De Bruyne, you look at your Haalands, the best players work their socks off. Like it's non-negotiable. And the best managers demand it. There's a reason why Newcastle all of a sudden are an unbelievable outfit, because every single player puts in a shift, regardless. There's a reason why he brought in Kieran Trippier, because they don't have days off. You know, regardless of what you think about him, you might think there's better players than Kieran Trippier. He doesn't have a day off. He works consistently, day in, day out. And then you get the rewards on the pitch. And that then filters down. The same way the formations and playing 3-5-2 and all these expansive, playing out from the back, and all these things filter down. The work rate and the desire to consistently, it's always there. And if you listen, my aspirations was to go and play in the Premier League and play for a top team in the Premier League. My ability wasn't going to get me there, but I was adamant that whatever level I can get to is going to be the best level that my ability and everything will get me to. So if League Two was my absolute max, I'm going to get to League Two. If National League was my max, that's what I'm going to get. Some of these players, their max could be Premier League, but they're not going to get there because they've not got the right application and the right desire. And that's the sad thing about it. If they have that, they've got a chance. And that's kind of our job as coaches, is to make sure that you give them give them all your experience, give them all the tools. And then ultimately it comes down to the player, whether or not they've got it inside them to get that extra little bit. If they have, they've got a chance.
Well, you sound like you know your stuff, and you can tell you're coaching, you've been around football, but you obviously moved into the media side of it. You're still there now? So I think I saw recently 3 years at Sky. Is that right?
Yeah. So yeah, this is my third third season at Sky.
Do you think you're going to carry on doing your media stuff or go back into coaching or?
I love coaching, but I must say I absolutely love the media.
Yeah.
You know, and I kind of stumbled into it. You know, I got let go from Peterborough during COVID. You know, Peterborough had to make cutbacks, and it almost made a position for me. So naturally, when they had to make cutbacks, mine was one of the positions that had to go. And Sky asked me to come down and just watch some games, and I just loved it straight away. You know, I took to it and I worked, you know, and continuously worked really hard at it. Exactly. I'm exactly the same as a pundit as I was as a player. You know, I put hours into my prep for every game, whether I'm doing a National League game, a Premier League game, whatever level I'm doing. I put hours of prep into making sure that I can give the best performance on camera or on radio, whatever it is I'm doing.
And you're doing a lot of, like you said, you do all sorts of levels, but obviously recently I've seen you a lot on BT doing a lot of the non-league sort of coverage and stuff. Is that obviously because of your career? Essentially, you started non-league, you went all the way to the top, and then you finished in non-league again. Does that fit you perfectly? Do you think?
Yeah, I think I'm lucky in that I can kind of do all of it. You know, for Sky, I do predominantly EFL. You know, League One, League Two, Championship. For BT, I do non-league. I do the National League every week. I've done a few Premier League games, live games for BT and some co-coms. I've done one Europa League game, co-coms. So I'm just kind of trying to do everything, you know. And I think I'm fortunate in that I've had promotions from every division. Yeah. So at whatever level I'm asked to do, I've got experience having played in that level. Listen, I've never played international. I've never played in the Europa League or Champions League, but I guess I'm doing a good enough job covering the other levels that they trust that, you know, I'm going to be able to go out there and talk and know what I'm talking about. You know, I don't go on there and I don't just say things for the sake of saying it. I give my opinion as an ex-player, and I never batter anyone. I don't go out and target people. There are people that do. And
you know exactly what it feels like, don't you? So,
yeah, listen, I think everyone's got their own styles, but my style is right. I will say what I see. I'll try and explain my reasons for whatever opinion I've got. And hopefully I show that, as well as being knowledgeable on football, I've taken the time to make sure that I know about the clubs. I know about the players. I know, you know, I understand whatever the competition is. I understand what it means to that group of fans, especially. Because ultimately, if I'm covering an Arsenal game and I don't know any of the history of Arsenal, it's kind of lazy punditry. If I don't know any of the players, I don't know how many goals someone scored. If I don't know Martinelli's scored 14 goals, then that's lazy punditry. So I make it my priority to research all the players, research what they've done over the years. You know, when was the last time, if I'm doing a Europa League game, when was the last time they, you know, what was their last 5 Europa Leagues? What's the furthest that they've got? When did they last win it, if they've ever won it? Just things that, as fans, you want to know.
Yeah.
And it's not it might not be something that you know prior to watching it, but then when you go to the pub and you're talking to your friends and you say, yeah, well, the last time we won it was back in 1984. Like, you know it because I told you it.
Yeah.
And you don't even know that it's me that's giving you the information. You just know it because you've heard it. So, yeah, I like to think that I'll give people like information that they probably wouldn't know before, but it's not just speaking for this. It's not the generic, well, he scored a goal, he crossed it and he headed it in. It's a little bit, there's a bit more.
A lot more to it, yeah, definitely.
One thing I wanted to ask, were you more nervous for your television debut punditry debut, media debut than you were for any game that you stepped down the pitch for? When the camera went
nervous.
live.
I was nervous. I must say, I was nervous before every game.
Were you?
Throughout my career. Every game. I'd say there was maybe 1 or 2 games that I wasn't nervous for. And I hated it. I hated not being nervous for a game. Because I always felt like if I've got a bit of nerves, it makes sure that I'm sharp in my mind. It makes sure that I concentrate on everything. And the odd occasion, if I wasn't nervous, chances are I would play badly, and I'd know that I've played badly. So I'd make sure that didn't happen again. You know, especially at Peterborough. At Peterborough, myself and Craig, before every game, we'd go in early and we'd do hot and cold baths, contrast baths. And whenever we did that, I'd sit in there and I'd be thinking about the game. And I'd almost be working myself up, like making sure that I'm feeling the nerves. Because I knew that then once I go out, straight away, as soon as the game starts, and my thing at the beginning of every game was, I'm going to sprint. When they take centre, I'm going to sprint and win the ball.
You know,
straight away.
Sometimes
when
you get the ball, sometimes you get the player.
Whichever you get.
Yeah.
But that always set us off. And it was surprising how teams didn't realise this. But they'd take the little touch, and then they'd pass it back to the centre midfielder or centre half to launch it forward. As soon as they take that touch, I sprint. And ultimately, I'd end up getting either winning the ball or I'd get a tackle. And then all of a sudden, that just lifted us straight away. And then the nerves would disappear.
You're in the game,
So
aren't you?
Yeah, there was little things that I used to work on to make sure that I get that little bit of nerves, and it would set me up. But for the TV, I was a fish out of water. I just had to go and they didn't give me they gave me nothing. They just said, right, you're doing this game on this day, be there an hour before. And it was like, and I did way too much prep for the game. Like I'd say probably 98% of what I'd prepared, I didn't use. So, but yeah, I guess I'm just a nervous guy. I'm nervous. Nervous before everything.
I know the feeling. Obviously on a smaller scale, we've been doing this for just under a year now. The first we had Matt Jarvis on, it was our first one, and watch that back now, and I'm like, hello, Matt.
I was sat in this room like sweating. Yeah.
But
it's like I said, it's all preparation. We've done our preparation. You want to know your bits, you want to know your questions, and it's just settling the nerves. And once that's gone, then it's 3 lads talking about something we all love, and it's football. And that's something I can talk to anyone about, whether you've got 2 heads or whoever. That's something I can talk to people about.
Yeah, absolutely. And I started a podcast last season, and I only did about 3 episodes. It's definitely something I wanna kind of get going again. But I must say, like, full credit to you guys, because again, I was nervous before I did it. Mark Wright was my first guest. Now I know Mark. I've grown up with Mark. But even sitting down and having to be in your seat now and asking the questions and making sure that it flows, you never know what your guest is going to be like. Exactly, you never know if they're just going to be able to just talk, or whether you're going to have to constantly find questions to ask and kind of lead the direction of the conversation. So I'd say I was probably more nervous before that than anything I've done, because it was all on me. But then again, as you do a few of them, then you realise that, you know what, it's actually, as long as you get good guests, as long as you get good guests, I'm sure there's going to be, listen, you're going to get an absolute stinker. And they're just going to be like, no. And then then you're going to have to try and work your magic. But you guys seem like pros anyway, so you're good.
Appreciate it.
We'll get that bit clipped. Talking of pros, though, you scored 5 goals against 4 different teams. Can you name them?
Okay, so I'm going to go. Is Brentford one?
Brentford, sorry, was that?
Yeah.
No.
No. Accrington?
Yep.
I've got a little stat. Hang on, where is it? So you scored 2. Oh, you said, okay. I see why you said Brentford, because you scored. I'm about to say you scored 2 hat-tricks in your career. One was Accrington and one was Brentford. But yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so Accrington's one. Orient?
Yep. Did you celebrate against Orient? Are you one of them players who would celebrate against your old team?
No, never celebrated.
Mm-hmm.
But that was my first team, and I still got a lot of respect for them. So no, never celebrated. So 5 goals against how many teams?
4.
And you've got 2 out of 4
teams.
You've named 2 or 4 here.
Bristol?
No, I think they were. You scored 4 against them.
It must be hard. Right. He scored a lot of goals. So.
With the other 2, what leagues are they in now? What leagues are those clubs in?
One is definitely one team is definitely in the Championship.
Huddersfield?
Check.
Yep.
Let me just check the other side.
I think the other one is in League One. I don't know. It might be the Championship still.
So the other team would be...
They are Championship.
They're Championship.
They play in red.
Rotherham.
Correct.
Bang on.
Nice.
Very good.
I tell you, I was not expecting to get that so quick.
That's a good little pub quiz one.
That's a great question. I'm going to have to steal that.
So who are the 2 hat-tricks again, Jack? You say Brentford and...
Brentford and Accrington.
Brentford and Accrington, yeah.
Have you still got them hat-trick balls?
I have somewhere. They're in the loft, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I've not really... in terms of like hat-trick balls and even shirts and stuff, I've not really done much of them. I think when I move again, when I'm allowed to get a games room.
Yeah, a little man cave.
When I'm allowed. At the moment, I've got a 3-year-old, so I'm not allowed anything. Everything is any spare room is a kid's room.
Yeah.
So we've got 4 kids' rooms at the moment.
No, very good.
Perfect. I think that brings a nice wrap to the end of the podcast there. I just want to say thank you very much for coming on again.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. It's been good.
We'll keep an eye out for you on our TVs, and I hope the season goes well with all the punditry, and hopefully you get to do the England under-21 final if we get there.
Fingers crossed.
Crossed. Semi-final against Israel, isn't it? And then potential final against Ukraine, or I can't remember the other team left in it now.
Yeah, well, we've already beat Israel, so fingers crossed.
Yeah, looking good. They're looking good.
So I just want to say thank you again for coming on, and I hope you enjoyed it, and take care.
Thanks very much. Cheers, guys.
No worries. Thank you.